folks. Welcome. Have you been enjoying the night so far? Yes, fantastic. So I just wanted to acknowledge that I am on the lands of the Wurundjeri people here today. I work and create and do all of my art and my teaching, as you'll find out, on Wurundjeri land. And I would like to acknowledge that not only has science and knowledge been passed down, but also storytelling and art making for so long. And I am really grateful to be here today to talk to you about some spooky stuff. So can I just get a kind of show of hands, who here has consumed some form of horror media in their lifetime? Hey, very good. So chances are that you were not watching a silent film, even Nosferatu, so don't call me out on that because there's always a composition with that. But most of the time you'll hear sound, whether that is in Foley or whether that is in music. And so tonight, we're going to be talking about the recipe for a sonic scare. So we're going to go straight into it because we have no time. So a little bit about me. The first thing that I am is a composer. I've composed for stage theatre, I've composed for video games, I've also composed for a little web series, and I'm really hoping to sink my teeth into the kind of short film and video game industry in the future. The second thing I am is a composer and a performer. I am a composer, I did say that. I am a performer as well, so I play a piano and I sing, and I'm also an actor. And what you can see behind me here, especially with, where's my clicker? This guy, is in a horror ARG web series completely free on YouTube. I thought I'd plug it. It's called How To Video Results. The third thing, my goodness, what's going on with my brain today? The third thing that I am is a teacher. So I'm currently a pre-service teacher studying a Masters of Teaching in, who guessed it, music and drama. And the last thing that I am is a bit of a spooky head. And my family is right at the back here, and as well as my friend of 20 years. And they can attest to the fact that I did think that I had telekinetic powers when I was younger. And I really tried to move foil with my hand on the floor of my bedroom. Turns out that's just because I was blowing air into it, but that's okay. So, this presentation came about because I just thought to myself, why don't I combine all of the things that I do, considering that I'm spending most of my nights watching horror films anyway, to learn about what makes music scary, what makes sound scary. And so I set myself 3 tasks. The first one was to do a bit of a lit review and just listen to a bunch of soundtracks. And then I went, okay, so if we're going to do that, following that kind of research pathway, I got to then do an experiment. And so that's when I wanted to make some music. So learning from all of the compositions that I was listening to and then making my own. Very scary. And then the last one, show it to you folks. I'm a really big bundle of anxiety, as you probably can tell. And so I really wanted to practice that in myself. So let's get straight into it. I started off with listening to a bunch of composers, and a lot of these composers were... Who the fuck's got their phone on? Can you please turn your phone off, by the way? Everyone should have their phones off. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so then I listened to... Okay, so I ended up watching a lot of films and playing a lot of video games because, hyperfixation time, we love that. So I ended up listening to a really big variety of composers in my time. And I've got some back here. We've got some of the classics like John Carpenter, who composed for Halloween. We've got Bernard Herrmann, who did a lot of the Hitchcock films. I've even got some more recent ones like Michael Levi for Under the Skin, and also some of the video game kind of composers like Mr. Gustavo Santaolalla, who did all of the stuff for the Last of Us video game as well. And I wanted to think about what kind of strung all of these compositions together because they were so diverse. And so I ended up going, okay, let me narrow it down to 2 things. And this is what was going to guide my next step in my experiment to create my own music. The first one was that a lot of the sound was destabilized to some degree, so making things seem unstable. And the last one was unpredictability. That's not coming from you guys, is it? Has that been there the whole time? What does it say on it? Ooh, yeah. Do not lift. As if you're gonna not lift something that has do not lift on it. Do I do it? What? Oh, yuck! Ooh. I mean, it's not surprising, is it? The phone. I hope that doesn't do anything bad later on in this presentation. Anyway, let's continue. So, what I wanted to do was start off simple. Let's choose some instruments. And then I realized it's not that simple because of what I listened to, there were so many different types of instruments being used. So I went, what do they guide it with? And the word is timbre. Now, for those of you who have not heard this word before, timbre is basically the quality of a sound. So we might use words like grating, woody, fluty, warm to describe the sounds that we hear. And so we can use any instrument as long as we follow a certain set of timbres. And what I noticed, there were a lot of grating timbres, a lot of harsh timbres that were really unpleasant to the ear. And this was our unstable kind of part of it, where when you hear something really grating, it's harsh. We don't want to hear it, and it makes it feel quite foreign. So I decided to go with a few different instruments to explore these different timbres. And the first one I wanted to start with was strings. Now, strings, I'll get to this in a second, but it is such a diverse instrument when it comes to, when I'm talking about the instrument family, when it comes to different types of timbres we can make. The second one that I wanted to use was voice. Now, voice is also similarly quite diverse, and I was really excited to explore this. The third one I wanted to look at was percussion, and percussion creates some really bellowing sounds, but naturally, because it's an instrument family, there are so many other percussion instruments that can create clicky sounds that can be really gross. And the last one was synths. And as you can hear, we can create some really odd and unfamiliar timbres with synths. And it's also just, there are so many things that we can put underneath synths, and in this case, we're talking about digitally used instruments. Okay, I got my instruments. Now I wanted to play around with timbres, and this is how we use different instruments in different ways. So let's take strings for an example. We can have string chatter. It's great. So string chatter is basically you kind of take the bow and then you just kind of very lightly go over the top, so there's no pitch to it necessarily, and it creates a really grating timbre. The second one, can you see that? Harmonics. It's creating overtones with one string. Now, from this, I wanted to actually start writing the thing, which is more daunting than you'd think. But so I started somewhere simple because with my little nervous bundle of joy that I am, I decided to start with a drone. Now, a drone is basically you take one pitch and you hold it and hold it and hold it and hold it until there's nothing left in you to hold it anymore. And what drones do really well is really give a sense of an illusion of really slow time. Because we have one note, it ties our ears really, really quickly. And that's really great when we're wanting to build suspense or surprise our audience. On top of that, we can change the pitch of that drone. Here's our rumble, really low extreme rumble, and a really high string drone as well. Working with pitch extremities alongside this worked really well to tire our ears out even further as a listener for horror, because we're working in really the extremities of what we're really comfortable hearing. But we don't really want to listen to just one pitch the whole time. So I wanted to then add some extra stuff to it, something that changed. Now we're getting into melody and we're getting into harmony. Now, one thing that we hear a lot in horror composition is the use of dissonance. And I'll show you an example of what dissonance is by starting with the opposite, consonant. Beautiful, it's in harmony, it fits, it sounds nice to hear. And then we have dissonant. All right. So dissonance creates a really jarring effect for us because we're more often used to harmony than we are discord when it comes to listening to melodic sounds together. And that's great for destabilizing and creating unpredictability in the kind of melodic structure. So with all of this, I went to really do my first composition. So I started to go into... I am sick of you interrupting me this whole time. It's not even my phone. I don't really feel like it's appropriate to answer, but I don't know if you can see this. It does say do not answer on this. Why the fuck would you have a phone on stage that you don't want people to answer? All right, let's have a go. Hello? No even freaking answers. That's so rude of them.
He's here. I'm waiting.
I'm never answering the phone again. Let's keep going. Okay, so I then moved on to thinking about tempo and rhythm. Now, what you heard back there was my first composition. And one thing that I really played around with is giving no necessarily sense of beat. So we usually hear in a lot of music that we listen to a sense of beat, something that we can follow along with. But when we have what we call free time, where there's no sense of beat, we can really further that illusion of time slowing down. It drags our attention out so long when it comes to listening in a horror context. And on top of that, I made it really slow. And so when we put these two together, we create suspense. And that's really, really good in some cases of a horror flick. So if we think about a horror film, we have areas of suspense, but what if we have a scene where someone's being chased, for example, or if we have someone who's trying to fight an entity? So then I decided to go into another composition and make this. Right, we're gonna listen to that again. Can I just get a hands up? Who's a muso in here? Oh, only a few of you, I love that. But if anyone can tell me what the time signature of this is, I would be incredibly grateful. I might give you a kiss in the cheek after this. To be fair, that didn't cue correctly. But does anyone want to have a guess? One more time. Ooh, good guess, very close, not quite. Anyone else? Any other takers? 3/4, interesting. It does feel odd, doesn't it? So this one is actually a 7/8. It's really, really odd. We don't often have odd meters or rhythms, and this is one other way that we can create unpredictability in horror. A lot of what I listened to had odd groupings of beat. So instead of using groups of 4 or groups of 2, we might use groups of 5 or groups of 7 or 9. And we can also use rhythm, or when each note is kind of played on that beat, in really odd spots. And on top of that, I made it faster as well. And then when we have those together, we create action, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, there was one bit that I also didn't kind of consider in my first bit, which I accidentally already did anyway. And that is our softs and our louds. This is what we call dynamics in music. And when we use our soft and our loud, we can create the illusion of something feeling far away or something close. It's great when we want to give the illusion of a threat kind of being in the background compared to them being right up in your face. On top of this, we can also take away instruments or add instruments in, which creates a very similar effect of creating either distance or presence for the listener. So, for an example, we might build up like this. and then cut off. Great for suspense. But we could also just shock people by doing something like this. Something really loud and really sudden. Okay. That was a really, really big run through of all the things that I had kind of discovered. So now it was on to looking at my last composition. And so I did put a visual with this, so let's hope it works and let's see. Oh, fuck me. It's that thing. Okay. I'm just gonna hang it up now. On?
Hello? Is that B? I'm outside.
Hello? It's me.
Yeah, I've been waiting for outside for about 15 minutes. You've got a food order out here.
Oh shit, that's my Macca's order that I ordered before.
I mean, are you even allowed to bring food into this venue?
Don't tell Howard that I did this, by the way.
Nice food. They do great chips, by the way.
They do great chips. I absolutely agree. Okay, so I'm in the middle of a presentation at the moment. Do you think you could wait there for a little bit longer and I'll get the host to pick it up?
Yeah, sure. More waiting. Why not?
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair enough. Look, thank you for your time, but I'm just going to hang up now because I've got to present. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
He was an asshole. Okay, all right. So as you can see, the jig is up. This was completely set up, and there is... so as you can tell, I've got behind me context, and this is the last piece of the puzzle, because what context does is give us more, context, information. We're usually not just listening to the sound on its own. We usually have a visual context when it comes to film and video games and TV shows. And so when we have a terrifying or horrifying context that's already in front of us, it gives us the understanding to then interpret whatever is underneath as scary. So both of them feed into each other quite well. And with that, let's get to a summary. All right. So I want to bring it back to this unstable and unpredictable kind of situation. So I've learnt by listening and also making my own music that I can create kind of instability by using dissonance. We can use a variety of timbres or tone colours. We can use free time, so no sense of beat to really drag out our suspense. And we can also change our pitch and volume extremities. Now, I can also create something unpredictable by using odd rhythms, odd meters, odd beats. I can also kind of use this kind of shift in dynamics, which can also be destabilizing in itself. And on top of that, I can also change the tempo suddenly. Now, this is absolutely a crash course and just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to understanding what makes music scary. And there was so much that I wish I could fit in that I didn't. But one thing I do want you to take away from this is to just be that little bit more curious next time you watch your Buffy the Vampire Slayer marathon for the 5th time, or if you're playing the next, indie horror game that's exactly like Slender Man. Be a little bit more curious. Listen out. And shit your pants just that little bit more. Okay, thank you so much. Now, Halo, thank you so much. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I didn't order anything anyway. Oh my God, I'm so hungry. So thank you so much for coming along. I hope you kind of took something out of it. But before I go, I do just need to have a chip because I'm really freaking hungry. Fuck. Thank you. I was going to put this over here for now. All right, hang on. We got this.
No, keep going, keep going.
Thank you.
All right, do I have any questions for B?
Oh.
They were just shocked out of their seats. One up here?
I wanted to know
this was one of the things that I really want to talk about. Just for the record, the question was, can you talk a little bit about silence in horror music? Now, this is such a really crucial part of horror composition as well. Thank you for bringing it up. It's one of like the 50 different things that I wanted to include that I couldn't include. But yeah, silence is a really key kind of tool that a lot of composers and also Foley artists, and I want to make that distinction. So composers being the kind of musical side and the Foley artists being on the side of really the found sound, so like your footsteps and stuff. Oftentimes, we will have sound, but it will just be Foley. But musical compositions can use silence to really heighten your awareness of the Foley and of the surroundings. And it's something that I love, because I think as much as it's a trope and we all know when a scare is coming, it still makes us feel really icky. I hope that answered your question.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep, another one up here.
Yep. Oh my God, that's such a big question.
So changes in horror from more classical to now?
Yeah, this is something that I find really interesting, and I think it follows a lot of the history of introductions of new instruments, is one big thing. So a lot of early horror seemed to use a lot of orchestral music because that's kind of what was used at the time. A lot of the time we follow the popular trends of the time, what we have at the time. But then once we got synths in, that was like a whole other game. And you hear a lot of more digital instruments and digital sounds being used in horror films of more modern times, especially once we get to kind of the middle to the late 20th century. I will preface this by saying I've not studied horror, so this is completely my own hyperfixation, and it's definitely one area that I want to know more of. So thank you for asking that question.
Okay, maybe, yep, just one more.
Following on to that, with the changing field, are we seeing any emerging areas or emerging new techniques in horror sound?
That's so interesting.
So emerging new techniques in horror sound design.
That's a really interesting one, because I feel like this is such a personal opinion. I think we're at an age where so much has already been done, and it's so hard, especially when we don't have these kind of big things that have come into to kind of revolutionize music, such as digital instruments. We kind of run out of ideas. But what I think a lot of the sound design has come towards within horror films, especially thinking like A24 and more of the independent films, is that there's a lot more, I guess, stepping away from necessarily music and more to kind of almost sound art. But I think there are a lot of things that have stayed the same. So we're still seeing a lot of the tropey orchestral music in some horror films, as well as some of the synthesized compositions that we've heard from the middle to the late 20th century. I'm really interested in that question, actually. Thank you. I'd be fascinated to see what else comes to the foreground. That's another question for me to fixate on for the next 5 months. Thank you.
All right, give it up for B.